rears its ugly head in every possible way, not just in officialdom, but in societies, in panchayats, in families. It's a very difficult thing to get rid of. And therefore, the elimination, or shall we say even the reduction, let's not get too ambitious, the reduction of patriarchy requires more than just public spending. It requires massive mobilization with a sense of solidarity. It requires the kinds of things that you did with the Wall for Women, which was so inspiring, I think, across India and across the world. But it requires that sense of solidarity among women to be constantly reaffirmed, because otherwise it's a difficult battle often for women to fight on their own, whether they are women entrepreneurs or women workers or women who are doing unpaid work at home. And I think meetings like this are tremendous because they give you a sense of that solidarity. They give you a sense of the energy that can come when people get together to talk about the different ways in which women have and will continue to transform the world. And particularly, I have to say this, the women of Kerala will continue to transform the world and to inspire the rest of us. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to give the microphone to Shailaja teacher to give you the concluding remarks about this keynote address.
Thank you, Jayadiji, giving an inspiring and informative speech to us. I personally saying I used to read your articles in Frontline and other publishing system, and I got many points. I got some answers, which some questions in my heart. I got answers from your articles because you are studying each and every aspects of the society and finding some points to action. And we got some answers from your articles. Thank you very much. Here also you mentioned very crucial points we have to address, especially in this ICGE International Conference, I think. You spoke more about Kerala, and you are asking Kerala what is your next plan, or what is your plan to overcome these difficulties. Actually saying this pandemic, this COVID-19, as we all know, the opportunities of women is being jeopardizing by the pandemic throughout the world. Women are pushed to the home, and all men and women are pushed to the home, and women are suffering more for the care work and other thing. It become a burden to women, and the little opportunity they got in the society is also diminishing, and it is a crucial problem actually. But in Kerala we are trying to solve this thing as much as we can. Actually saying this pandemic bring a thought that, or we can say a litmus test on system governance throughout the world, especially health system, we can say so. And what is your health system? You asked us to address our next policy about the health system, that giving more focus on quality of care and also this geriatric care, etc. And but the I think I am always mentioning the good system in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark for the good health system. They were good, we can say so, and how they are giving interest in public sector, and they are investing more money in public system. But investment itself, or only investing more money, will not save this kind of challenges. We cannot save people from the challenges. In Sweden, during the pandemic, they chose the method of mitigation. They have a very good public health system there, but it itself didn't save the people, you know. The Prime Minister of Sweden said that don't imitate our our method. We have some failure in first part, but they are working hard. They will overcome definitely. They have a very good system there. But in the first part, they chose the mitigation method. But in Kerala is a small state of a huge country, you know, economically not so fit, as you said. And, but we discussed it together, our eminent personalities in health sector and some experts. We started discussion when we know that a potential pandemic is spreading in Wuhan in China. That is in December last or January 1st of 2020 or December last of 2019. It started there. WHO reported that potential pandemic is spreading in Wuhan. I think that is in January 18 that report came. At the same time, we gathered together, our experts and me sit together. Our Chief Minister gives some guidelines, etc. And we discussed how to manage this problem. The virus will definitely come to Kerala because there are so many students studying in medicine, that medical college in Wuhan. We are sure that they will definitely return back to Kerala and virus will come back with come to Kerala with them. As we expected, it came, that virus. But when it came, we were ready to tackle it. We are ready to trace it. Our skilled persons in health sector, we were able to track that thing, and we had done a very good job on that. And with this pre-preparedness and our timely action, we can reduce the mortality rate. It is 0.4% in Kerala, you know. But the virus is that kind of thing that it will go to the society definitely. We cannot prevent it completely. That is spreading type, and it is now came to our spread to our society also. But now also we are fighting against the virus, and our ultimate aim is to reduce the mortality rate to save human life from this virus. And I'm not explaining that thing, but I am coming directly to the after effect of the COVID-19 in this society. And it's a difficult thing, you know. The existing society is not egalitarian. In India also, this feudalist culture, and there's a mixture of this feudalist and capitalist culture together. The consumer, one part, the consumerist society is bringing more danger things to society, especially to women. And the other part, that feudalist culture is here, the superstitions and that kind of things are also here. That also, women are also suffering from that thing also, the traditional things and the superstitions, etc. We have to fight with the two things, the fundamental things and also with the contemporary world, this kind of consumerist things, etc. And we have to find new methods to save the women from these dangers and to push them outside from these barriers, and we are doing some work. In the society, this government under the leadership of Sri Pinarayi Vijayan, we started 4 missions. That is unusual, that not only the plan work or the usual method, we started 4 missions especially. One is this to save the nature, or we can say that to promote the organic culture, etc., to save the nature, and that mission, I think that gives very much opportunity to women also. The eminent women are heading that mission, and they are doing so many things to clearing the ponds and wells, etc., to save the groundwater, or cultivating this organic cultivation. So many women are engaging in that. That way we are pushing them forward to get some opportunity outside the home, you know, not inside, only that unpaid work. They are getting some payment for this new cultivation, etc., some group cultivation, some self-help groups, etc. That way we are pushing women outside. And one mission is called Life Mission, that is to give a home for homeless people. We are addressing a huge question, you know. The whole world, there is a challenge of urbanization. Urbanization is good in one part, but there are some challenges out of that. That is the slum formation, etc. If the agricultural sector is not flourishing, the people will lost everything in the village, and they are directly going to the urban places seeking some jobs, etc. But it is unfortunate they are not getting there, and they are dumping there, and the slums are becoming. When I went to China once, they gave a topic to discuss that what is the solution for the urbanization and the slum formation. How to reduce the slum formation, that is the big question. In slums, women are suffering too much, without getting proper water or like facilities, etc. Because of some biological needs, women are suffering more than anything in slums. And we want to reduce this slum formation. Through this mission, that life mission, supplying a home for homeless, making some activities to building some flats for the poor persons to stay with, we are addressing that problem. Without forming slums, we are giving people shelters in cities and also in villages. We started that project, and I think women are the very good beneficiaries of that project also. That way also we are addressing the work burden or the sufferings of women, to get rid of the sufferings of women. The other mission is on reform and in education sector, that also to make the education sector technologically fit and also academically most modern, that also we are doing. Another mission is on health sector called adhering, and we are changing this health sector totally. That is why I mentioned the experience of Sweden first, because Kerala cannot be compared with Sweden, because the population density is more in Kerala, and also the facilities that Sweden achieved, not only Sweden, the western countries achieved a lot on technological part, and Kerala it is not like that. We have a mixed village and urban areas, we can say it is urban, but it is not so flourished, the technology is not so flourished, but we are trying to get more technological support in our state, and we are doing some activities on that. And in this mission, this Ardhra mission, health mission, we are trying our best to change the basic structure of the health system. We had a very good public health system here. In each and every panchayat we have primary health centers, etc. But now we are changing the public health primary health centers to family health centers. There we are providing more women-friendly activities there. That there are in PHCs there are some special space for women also. They can come and check their non-communicable diseases or lifestyle diseases, etc. And we are encouraging women to follow new lifestyles, to doing more exercise, and how to come out and do some works, etc. And in health sector also people-friendly and women-friendly activities are coming. I am not explaining because the shortage of time, I am not explaining. But investing in public sector, and to develop the public sector for the poor people, at least 50% of the population, they should have to come to the public health system, and they should get affordable treatment there, affordable and quality treatment there. That is our aim. We are going on that. And also for the public investment in other sector also, not only the traditional method, we have to develop the skills. In social justice and women and children department, and in other departments also, we are implementing some skill development programs for women, and we are forming some women groups for that. Here in Gender Park, we are starting a women's trade and research center, especially for women to promote the entrepreneurship of women, and also some social business, etc. We are now discussing today about the social business, and without the profit-oriented business, other than profit-oriented business, we want to start some social things. How can include women in this? How can promote women other than the care work or other than the household work, unpaid work? We are giving opportunities to the women in rural and urban sector, how to come forward, and we are drafting some policy on that. And after the policy, we will definitely frame an action plan on it, and we will go forward. My time is over. It is time to start the other session. But I will assure you, Jayadiji, that we will work on these things, that in health sector also how to promote the palliative thing. We have introduced a palliative policy, and we are trying to make a palliative care grid. There are so many NGO organizations other than government who are giving palliative works. We are joining them together, and we are framing a palliative care grid, and that will be a great help to women who are nourishing or who are nursing these old age people in their home. They will support, and that way also we are lessening the burden of poor women inside the home, and they get some opportunity to come outside. And also the geriatric care also. I have to explain so many things, but there is no time, and we are working hard to get some answer for these crucial problems. Kerala is trying, but we have to work more, a long way to work, a long way to work. We want help from you and other eminent personalities like you. Jayadiji, I want to express my sincere thanks to you to pointing out some crucial issues, and definitely our government will address these problems, and after the conference here, I think I will get some light, or I will get some points for action after that also. Definitely we will do that. Thank you, Jayadiji. Thank you very much for joining us.
You are truly an inspiration. Truly, you are really an inspiration.
You know,
thank you.
It was fascinating to watch an exchange between two women who are so keen to listen to each other and learn from each other. Teacher, oru abekshunda. Nammada adutha session onnu thodangi vechadinu shesham, we know that the press is waiting for your interaction. So please stay for 2 more minutes. We'll just get the session started, and then you may leave. Yes, thank you, Professor Jayati, for joining us and for staying awake for us for so long. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. It's been inspiring.
Our next session is to contextualize the theme of our second edition of ICGE, which is Gender in Sustainable Entrepreneurship and Social Business, with the mediating role of empowerment. So we have 4 speakers in this. One of them is, of course, our dear teacher, who's also chairing the session. We have 2 of them joining online. Ms. Renana Jhabvala, who's the president of SEWA Bharat. Physically with us, Kalki Subramaniam, transgender activist and founder of Sahodari Foundation. May I have you on stage, Kalki? And Vuuren, who's the director of Enterprises Department at the International Labour Organization, Geneva. Yes, one more loud round of applause for Kalki as she takes the stage. I'll get to introducing her in more detail soon, but then do we have, yes, please be seated, Kalki. Do we have the first speaker, Ms. Renana, ready, online? Once she gets started with her speech, I'd like to let you know that teacher will be leaving the stage for about 5 minutes for her press interaction. They've been waiting patiently for some time, so she'll quickly go, have the media interaction, and come back and join us on the stage. Yes, we have Renana there, and yes, we'd like to, Renana, with your permission, the chair of the session is leaving the stage for 5 minutes, but she'll be back soon. We'll get started with your speech. Thank you. Thank you, teacher.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're audible. Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to start, or?
Yes, please. It's our pleasure to have you.
Okay. Okay. So thank you for inviting me, and in a way, I feel I'm quite superfluous, because for all of us, Kerala is the role model. Oh, I don't know what we can bring to Kerala. We have so much to learn from Kerala. Dr. Shri is way ahead of so many movements in the country for women. Your women farmers are doing much more than anywhere else. And since government itself is encouraging all these movements, you can have very large impacts. But since you have invited me, I can talk a little bit about our journey in SEWA, and from the point of view of a movement which is not actually supported by government. but is more of a voluntary movement and has been going for more than 40 years. So I think the aim of what we are trying to do is social change. But one needs to define social change because there are so many different aspects which do need to be changed. And when you look from different points of view, you have different ways of looking at it. I think the position of women in society is a matter of concern for all of us. Coupled with that is the position of women in the lower income groups. Say the lower 50%, which in some states even we can say the lower 70%, which of course coincides both with class as well as caste. And as we know, different castes occupy different positions in the class system. And so when we talk about social change, it is an intersection of women, class and caste. Can we change their positions? And that is what we want to talk about. I can only tell you how SEWA has approached this issue. And if we look at that, the first thing one needs to think about is how do you define a woman? A woman who is in the lower income groups, in a caste exploitation situation, how do you define her? Women are defined in so many different ways. They can be defined as most people do, and generally we do, as wives or mothers especially when you talk about healthcare, as citizens. However, SEWA emphasizes that these women are workers, that they are part of the economic system, they contribute to GDP, they should be recognized as workers as part of our economic system. So we give the primacy to the woman as an economic being. She may be a wage worker or a self-employed worker or an unpaid family worker, but she is a contributing economic person. Now, SEWA stands for Self-Employed Women's Association. We started as a trade union in Gujarat, recognizing, as I said, poor women as workers. Our founder, who is Ila Bharat, she was part of a larger union called the Textile Labor Association. So starting a union was natural. What's a union? A union is when women come together, they organize, they recognize their mutual interests as workers, and then they collectively work to change it. This is very important because a woman alone feels disempowered, fearful. She often thinks of herself as having no agency. Sometimes women often think even of ending it all and doing suicide. But when they come together, they become stronger. SEWA started with women who carry loads on their head, whose main issue was low rates in Ahmedabad city. These women came together under the auspices of SEWA. They organized and they were able to bargain with their much stronger employers who had both the money power as well as the political power. But because they were together, they were able to get higher rates. The second group that came to SEWA was the street vendors, women who sell all types of objects on the streets. We know that in every city and rural areas, there are many, many such street vendors who are often treated as criminals, arrested by police, harassed by municipal authorities. We started organizing them first in front of the police, then trying to get space from municipality, used every possibility from rallies to satyagrahas to legal means, but it's all a matter of higher policy. And unless policies change, these exploitative conditions continue. And so in 2014, after nearly 30 years of struggle, there was a law passed for street vendors in which SEWA was very much involved. Similarly, agriculture workers, small and marginal farmers face so many issues on exploitation of their produce, inputs, loans, etc., home-based workers, and this way many workers began to join SEWA. Today, SEWA as a trade union is in 14 states, and we take an annual membership of a small amount. It's about 10 rupees a month, and today we have about 1.8 million or 18 lakh members. Now, this is a movement, a trade union. However, we know that struggle as a union is not enough. It takes many years. It makes women conscious, yes. It highlights issues, yes. But change takes very long. And these are poor women. They need quick, or not quick, at least they need, within a few years, they need to see some changes in their lives. And so, one of the things that we realized was that along with struggle, we also needed to have some kind of activity where they would earn more, they would go into the market, they would increase their skills, their opportunities. And we call these as social collective enterprises. You may not know, but now microfinance is of course spread all over India and all over the world. But SEWA was the first microfinance organization because in 1975, many years ago, 35 years ago, SEWA brought its union members together to pool their resources and start a SEWA bank. And this bank is a women's bank. It's controlled by women. The board members are the women from the informal economy. And today it serves 5 lakh women in Gujarat. And it is governed by RBI and is an A-grade bank. And this was an encouraging, very encouraging for our union that we can actually form our own bank. But from that we realized that we should begin to form many such collectives. And the first collective that we formed in Gujarat, you know, I know that in Kerala there are not many cooperatives, I think. But in Gujarat, cooperative movement is quite active. So we formed very early, after a union struggle for higher wages for home-based workers, stitchers, women who stitch in their own homes. We formed a home-based workers stitchers cooperative, and this then began selling in the market and was able to give higher wages, higher rates to the workers. Similarly, we found that agriculture workers were getting work only for a certain number of days, but that they had the skill as weavers. And so we helped them to form weavers cooperatives. And this way, as we expanded through all over India, we began to form more and more cooperatives. And we have now formed over 150. Now I'm going to call it social collective enterprises. The reason is that cooperatives are not welcomed in each state. We work in Madhya Pradesh, in Bihar, in Delhi, in Uttarakhand, mostly in the northern states, also in Kerala. And we find that the way that the regulations are for cooperatives, they are very discouraging to cooperatives. It is very difficult to register cooperative. You will be surprised that it takes almost a year in most of the states to get a cooperative registered. Whereas if you are a company, you can register yourself within a month. The cooperative reporting system, monitoring system from the government is very, very burdensome and cumbersome. Whereas for a company, it's very easy just to report to the ROC. So the thing is that in our system of governance, in our economic system, over time, cooperatives have become less and less viable in terms of the regulations, whereas companies have become more and more free to work. And this is because we have much more of a capitalist system where control of economic enterprises is by capital rather than by workers. Within this system, SEWA has been struggling. Of course, we still form cooperatives where it is possible, but we have experimented with many other different forms of organizations. For example, we have formed farmer-producer companies, which again, regulatory-wise is something government has been helping with, or rather has been encouraging. Farmer-producer companies are companies where the farmers get together and they are able to buy inputs and market their products. Most FPOs are male-oriented, but we know that agriculture is getting feminized. It has become feminized. And since it has become feminized, what does that mean? It means that men move out of agriculture, whereas women are the ones who have to control the farms. So we have been helping women, our members, to form farmer-producer organizations, to link with the markets. Similarly, finance. Today there are many microfinance institutions. They are all controlled by men, I must say. All the beneficiaries are women. And there are all companies where the profits are going to investors. So again, we have tried to form finance cooperatives. We have also formed business correspondent companies. So we have been experimenting with companies, cooperatives, mutual benefit trusts, all types of organizations. And on a policy level, I feel that it is very important that cooperative type of organizations should be encouraged, their regulations should be lightened, and especially the women's cooperatives should be encouraged. I would like to end with telling you what is our philosophy, SEWA's philosophy. We have, as I said, sustained for more than 40 years. Many of these 150 cooperatives, companies, etc., that we have formed are running sustainably, are giving income, giving empowerment to the women, are working closely with the union. So what is our philosophy? First is collective strength. Coming together, women lose their fear, they pool their assets, they get a voice. And as they work together, they are able to build both union and a collective social enterprise. Secondly, women's role in the economy needs to be recognized. And it needs to be recognized not just by the policymakers, but by the women themselves. We have all had the experience that when we go to, say, a field, and we ask the woman who is there in her field weeding, we ask her, what work do you do? And she says, I don't do anything. So women do not recognize their own economic strength. They do not recognize it. The statistics collectors do not recognize it. And the government also doesn't recognize it. So women's role in the economy needs to be recognized and encouraged. Third, when you work with women and poor women at the lower, at the base of the pyramid, they need concrete benefits. We must ensure that it's not just philosophy, it's not just education, it's concrete benefit, employment, income, health benefits, finance, insurance, a house. These are the benefits that they need and that we need to be working toward. And only when they get collective, concrete benefits that they will themselves get empowered. Then we need control by the women themselves, so that they are the users and they control the boards of these collective enterprises, because only then the direction will be set. In many of these companies, like the microfinance companies or even what is called social enterprises, these things are controlled by management or investors. And the direction is often not beneficial to the women. So their voice has to be in the decision making in the boards. They need to be self-reliant in financially, managerially, and even individually. So self-reliance of all the organizations and the movements is very important. And finally, and I think most important, they need representation in policy-making bodies. They need a voice which is given to them both by the social enterprise as well as the union, but they also need to be represented where decisions are made. Like I gave the example of street vendors. The decisions are made actually at the national level. It is not made at the grassroots level. Agriculture, decisions as we are seeing are made at the national level, not at local levels. So they need that representation, both at decision making at the state level, but also at the national level. And even we find at the international level. So just to sum up, women coming together, organizing, working together to be part of the economy and the market, and finally to make their voices heard at the policy level. And that is the real change that will come about. And when women change themselves, they also change society as the class and caste equations change. So thank you. And as I said, what we don't have much to bring to Kerala, Kerala has much to bring to the rest of the world. Thank you.
We just listened to the words of an expert in issues of women in informal economy, and for the uninitiated, she's a veteran who was conferred with the Padma Shri title by Government of India as early as 1990 for her immense contributions to social work. Thank you, ma'am. It was a privilege to have you. And our next speaker was the Chief Operating Officer at Business Unity South Africa, which is a national Unified Business Federation organization in South Africa, and he's currently the Director of Enterprises Department at ILO Geneva. That's Vic van Vuuren. Welcome, Vic.
Hi, thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to this, this important meeting. I'm in Geneva at the moment, in a very cold and snowy Geneva, and I certainly would love to be with you in Kerala. I have a great love for India, the people, the culture, the food, and most of all, cricket. But my visits so far to India have been confined to Delhi and the area around Delhi. So yes, it would have been great to be with you in Kerala. I'm going to start and make my comments at the macro level and then pull it down to the actual topic, because I think we need to put things into perspective. The first point I want to make is that the world has lost the plot. We need to redefine the value of a human being. Too often, and I come from the world of business, and I've been working in the ILO for about 12 years now, but I find in my travels across the globe that people have become but a number and part of a very mechanistic approach. What we're dealing with these human beings, and at the cornerstone of the human being is the value of a woman. And we need to redefine that, and we've heard some very interesting talks this morning on the value of a woman. But I think that's the starting point. And once we can entrench that in the leadership of governments, of companies, of society, then we'll start making inroads. In Africa, we have a proverb that goes, how do you eat an elephant? Piece by piece. So the size of what we're dealing with is a huge task. But if we tackle it piece by piece and put certain foundation blocks in place, we can start making bigger inroads than we have in the past. We need to address three capitals as we talk about the way in how we're going to empower women entrepreneurs and the role of women. We need to bear in mind the economic realities of what we're dealing with. We need to look at the social component and the social deficit that has been there for many, many years. It's not just COVID that has brought about the hardship for women, but it's something which has been there for time immemorial. And then the environmental component. So when we look at solutions, we need to look at this holistic picture of the economic realities, the social needs, and the environmental needs. As I said in my opening remarks, one of the cornerstones of what we need to address is the role of women. Even before COVID, all the points that I'm going to mention now were also valid. But perhaps COVID can be the wake-up call to increase the pace of implementation. Yes, with COVID, the hardest hit have been women. They earn less, they have less savings, if any at all. They're disproportionately represented in the informal sector and often disproportionately bear the weight of unpaid care and domestic work, as we've heard from previous speakers. Women entrepreneurs operate with lower levels of capital, higher risk of bankruptcy, and access to finance. And we need to ask ourselves why. Because if they're the cornerstone of what we need to talk about in the recovery phase, then this is where we need to put some focus. They're also the self-employed who are going out of employment quicker than men. In Africa, we also have a saying that says, if you strike a woman, you strike a rock. That is because she is the foundation of what we're dealing with. What are the recovery efforts that we need? We need to look at social protection schemes that take the specific issues of women entrepreneurs. We need support for income security for women. We need to expand access to affordable and quality childcare. We need to provide benefits to workers in the informal economy. Now, this is difficult, but it can and should be done, where women are far overrepresented. Longer-term strategies for the extension of social protection should be part of a broader integrated strategy to promote the transition from the informal to the formal economy. So what we need is a strategy at government level, we need at the local government levels, and we need policies that drive this. Unless that is in place, we're going to deal with things on a very unstructured basis. We need to build back better, but with a human-centered approach. Coming back to my opening remarks, there needs to be calls for interventions that uphold international labor standards, and that's where we as the ILO play a key role in reinforcing responsible business practices and putting gender equality and women's economic empowerment at the heart of the recovery process. A key framework to this is the UN Women's Empowerment Principles, known as the WEPs. We also have in the ILO the Tripartite Declaration of Principles for Multinational Enterprises and Social Policy, known as the M&E Declaration, which calls on multinational enterprises to practice principles of non-discrimination and to correct any historical patterns of discrimination in order to promote equality and equal opportunity and treatment in employment. Where is there low-hanging fruit? The low-hanging fruit finds itself in public and private procurement, which is often ignored. Recovery efforts by supporting women-owned and led businesses through gender-responsive procurement practices can make an immediate and huge impact on the hardship being experienced by women entrepreneurs. An holistic approach to women entrepreneurship development and economic empowerment is also necessary. We believe that taking into account women's specific needs at every level is a key first step to making this a reality. And that's always a stumbling block, is the need to recognize the woman's needs at every level by those in decision-making positions. We need to start at the policy and business environment level. An ILO Women's Entrepreneurs Development Assessment Program, the ILO advocates for the achievement of 6 key framework conditions to ensure that women entrepreneurs can fully strive and develop sustainable enterprises. These key framework conditions are firstly, the existence of gender-sensitive legal and regulatory system. We need to have regulatory systems in place. Otherwise, we once again going to find ourselves in unstructured territory. Secondly, we need an effective policy leadership and coordination for the promotion of women entrepreneurship development. Thirdly, we need access to gender-sensitive financial services. This is a key element that women continually complain about, is the access to finance and the difficulty it is for them to obtain the access to finance. The fourth one, access to sensitive business development services. Number 5, access to markets and technology. And we see that technology and the rate of advancement is phenomenal. And India is one of the global leading or pioneers in the world of technology. And there's no reason digitization can't be used to the benefit of women entrepreneurs. Things like digitized wage payments and just the ability to run their businesses. The 6th point is the representation of women entrepreneurs and participation in policy dialogue. And we've had the privilege of working with SEWA over the years. And when I was in Delhi, we had meetings with SEWA, and they are doing amazing work. And it was good to hear the previous speaker representing SEWA. We find a gap between policies favoring gender equality and women's development of sustainable enterprises. And these policies be realigned and properly implemented. Better provision of business development services to women's entrepreneurs is crucial. To achieve this, we at the ILO promote and encourage service providers to undertake gender self-assessment of their processes, products and services. And this should be a criteria when using a service provider, that they need to have these gender self-assessments and processes to analyze their products and services to the benefit of women entrepreneurs. They do so not only to promote gender equality, but also because it makes economic and business sense. So we're not just talking of a nice to have because we want to help the woman. This is an economic reality and a certainly strong business case that we can put on the table. This is very clearly beneficial for financial institutions, as women entrepreneurs have usually a higher repayment rate than their male counterparts. That's an interesting point that we need to use to sell the way forward. In addition, attending to the needs of women entrepreneurs has profound social implications. You know, in the world that I come from, I was always taught to think with my head and not with my heart. And over the years, because they said then I'll start making irrational business decisions. But what I've learned over the years, and largely through my interaction with my women colleagues, is that we need to think with our head and with our heart, because the world needs empathy at the workplace. And that is a key element to future business success and building back better. The ILO has a Get Ahead training program which addresses some of the gender-specific barriers that women face to start and run a business. These include the lack of basic knowledge and business skills, low confidence. They have a huge responsibility in not only doing their, running their businesses or trying to be part of a company or small business, but also to run families. The training aims to bridge the gender gap in entrepreneurship by offering women tailored business management skills and key soft skills, as well as support, is included in our programs. My time is up, so I want to come to some concluding remarks. Changes towards a more sustainable and equal future require time, commitment, and vision. And it's important to remember that process is as equally important as content. And often we, like being in a church, I'm speaking to the converted. But what we need to do is move outside of our comfort zone and start influencing and getting those people in key decision-making situations to understand the needs of women far better than what is currently the case. In spite of the urgency of the COVID crisis, we should strive to not further reinforce certain gender stereotypes, but only looking at where women are currently working and supporting them there. For instance, women are underrepresented in strategic sectors for the future of work, such as science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, what is commonly known as STEM. The underrepresentation in STEM means women are missing out on the innovation, high salary, entrepreneurship opportunities in these fields. Additionally, women's participation in other high-paying industries, including infrastructure, energy, and transport, is below 35%. This is not acceptable. So we need to challenge these existing gender biases by looking at where women are not and understanding why they are not there and determining how we can support and empower them in getting there. If we are serious about women's empowerment, we need to make sure to open opportunities to ensure the largest number of opportunities are made available to both men and women, and that all women and men have the agency to act upon these opportunities. Coming from South Africa, we've had a link to Mahatma Gandhi. And what we have is the legacy of his family. And I often follow the leaders in India, the women leaders that have made such great strides and have set such great examples. So we laud you, and particularly in Kerala, for the work that you're doing. And I look forward to future engagement. And I hope this is not just a once-off interaction. So thank you very much for the time, and I wish you every success with the rest of the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic, and particularly for the emphasis on the point that the foundation needs to be built and set correctly so that all growth becomes possible. Thank you once again, and we expect continued support from you and your organization. Our next speaker was one of the most prominent activists who lobbied for legal rights of transgender people in our country, and she was instrumental and in fact responsible for the milestone success that we got in 2014 with the Supreme Court of India. What happened then? Let me get some response there. Come on. Yes, with the transgender community's civil rights coming in 2014, she was one of the key figures responsible for that happening. And of course, yes, with all the applause that we heard earlier, I know that hers is one of the voices that you are really looking forward to listening to. Kalki Subramaniam.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I know that everyone is hungry, and I hope you're, I'll keep my speech very short. And I wish the minister was here to listen to my speech. Is she coming? Okay, great. Thank you. I remember when I was a 13-year-old, I was very, very close to the transgender community. I used to run away from schools because the school, other students were bullying me, the teachers were horrible, and I used to run away to the school, to the parks and forests and hide away. So in the evenings when I was hiding in the parks to escape the world, I met my transgender community. That is how I got the experience to meet people like me. I found out that each and everyone had a story, a very, very sad and horrible story, each one of our community persons. Many of them ran away from their homes to Mumbai and Delhi and Ratnapuri, even to Bangalore, and they all become sex workers. And when they go to Mumbai, they beg or they do sex work or they were dancing badai, and for years they would not return to our hometown. For years. There was so much happening in their lives. Unspeakable hardships that they actually faced. From there, in the 20s, I saw the transgender community of Kerala running away from here to Chennai and to Bangalore. And the society in general, in India, and particularly in Kerala, was also transphobic, homophobic. And I know that many of our community people were still begging and doing sex work. And during the 90s, when the HIV pandemic was very high, many of our community people who were working as sex workers, many of them died. And even in the early 2000s, I lost my dear friend Seema because she was HIV positive. And still some of my friends are HIV positive. But within the transgender community, we don't discriminate them at all, never. Because we know their pain and their lives. From there, it has been a journey of a lot of struggles, a lot of losing, a lot of hopelessness, a lot of tears, a lot of people who you love but you miss. I've lost so many of my friends in the past 15 years. My dear friend Saumya, who was discriminated from her family, who became an alcoholic because of depression, and she hanged. And my friend Maria, who was murdered. And still today, there's no justice for her. Her death is a question. I mean, the murderers did not get, the convicts did not get the punishment that they truly deserve. And my friend Abhinaya, who recently during the pandemic time died under mysterious conditions. And so many of our people in Kerala as well, Shalu. So many deaths, so many stories, so many people missing. All because, the one reason that our community has been going through such struggles majorly is because we are rejected by our families, ostracized by our families and the society. So that is one of the major interventions that we have to make, is that first, it is not that we actually provide homes for transgender people, short stay homes, training centers. All these are essential. But the most essential thing is that trans people have to be accepted in our homes. And we need to be given that love and nourishment and that equal space and treatment from our parents. That we need to be equally treated and not mistreated. And that is where I think our governments have to work strong, that we are not rejected by our families and thrown. Even in the recent transgender bill that was passed in the parliament, I found a clause, a point where it said that a parent can actually, if there are circumstances that they cannot have a transgender child, they can actually leave the child in a short stay home or a home. That is unacceptable. Every child deserves equality. Every child deserves love and nourishment. And just because transgender people are born differently or live differently or transitioned from one gender to another gender does not really make us outlaws, does not really make us the subhumans in this society. That is where actually I think entrepreneurships, initiatives are so important, because when you look at our community today, we are still begging. We are still doing sex work. Only a few of our community people are empowered, and very, very, very few are actually accepted by the families. Partially accepted. I mean, we can go to our homes, but we have to give whatever money we earn, we will have to give them, but we are not invited to family events. Such kind of acceptance, partial acceptance is there, but I was one of the very few lucky people in the world who was 100% accepted by the family, and they gave me a very good education and love and everything that I deserve. And I could come up in my life, but the majority of our community is still on the streets, begging, doing sex work, struggling with lack of education. Our community does not have the knowledge, the education that they truly deserve, because our families have thrown us out during our teenage years, or it was so difficult for our community people to study in schools. So majority of the transgender community people are all school dropouts. So that is one of the biggest challenges that we face, because I know that many corporate companies are actually coming forward to offer jobs for our community, white-collar jobs. But our community is efficient only for blue-collar jobs, because we did not have that opportunity to get studied. We did not have that opportunity to complete our education, a degree, a master's degree, a PhD. We did not, because we were thrown out of our homes. That is one challenge that my generation faces. That many of my friends are still begging, still doing sex work, because they don't have an education. And if they're offered jobs, it is very meager. That does not support their sex reassignment surgery, that does not support their home rent, that does not support their medical expenses, that does not support their everyday food and other miscellaneous expenses. So they resort to begging and sex work. So many people, many of my friends actually ask me, why do the transgender community, yeah. Thank you. Okay. I hope it works. Is it working? No, okay. Okay, I'll sit and talk. Thank you. So many of my friends are still resorting to sex work and begging. And that is not because they love to do it. That is because there is no other livelihood choices for them. They are in their 30s, they are in their 40s, and they don't have an education. I think if we are giving an opportunity for our community, we should also talk about people in their mid-30s, 40s, and also the senior citizens. The transgender community has to be taken care with such detailed introspection into it. When we come to the current generation of transgender people, such long struggles have resulted in totally very good efforts. When in the 2014, the Supreme Court of India legally recognized our community in a verdict, Nalsa versus the Union of India, it opened doors for many of transgender people to study in academic institutions. Bachelor's degree, master's degree, so many opportunities. And it also paved the way for transgender people to join in jobs in civil services. And it is the beginning of a change. The initiatives that the ministry in Kerala as well as in the country, the central governments might take, some of them will be failures, some of them will definitely be successful.
Kalki,
But
may I interrupt for a second? Is this mic working? Check. Hello, check.
No, that's not working.
Check. 2 minutes. Kalki, may I request for 2 minutes because we want all of them to be properly able to hear you. Check. Yes. Hello, check. Hello, check. 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 No? Should we try the other cordless mic?
No? It is? Am I audible? Okay. Not clear? Okay, it's not clear.
Hello, check. Is there a way to increase the volume level of the cordless mic?
No, it's not working.
Check. Hello, check. I think this cordless mic is definitely better than the other one. Ah, this has come. Hello, hello, check. The sound is still not proper. There's something wrong, right? It's fine? Oh, great. May I request you to take the podium back?
Thank you for your patience. So as I was speaking, the senior community people have also been taken care. And many of them, because they were not given these opportunities that are given in this time and space that we live in, many of the seniors in their 30s and 40s and 50s, they're all living a very horrible life. But I'm very happy that change has come and many policies and measures are being taken by the state as well as the central government in providing entrepreneurship opportunities to the community. But there are many challenges. But before going into the challenges, I would like to say, quote, some of the successful initiatives that are already there in the country. I've actually written it. In West Bengal, there is Bobby Madhuk, who is actually selling bed sheets and scarves through her entrepreneurship initiative from the transgender community. And in Chengalpattu of Tamil Nadu, Pragati is actually doing a craft business. She is also running a training institute for art and craft. And by the way, she is an MA in fine arts. And in Mumbai, Urmi Yadav is running a sari business. And in Kerala, of course, we have Tripti Hrutik, who is running a jewelry business successfully. And in our Sahodari Foundation in Coimbatore, we are running an art business. We train and offer workshops to transgender people in Tamil Nadu as well as in Kerala. And many of them have actually done beautiful artworks, and we promote them through online, through galleries, and through universities and colleges by putting up exhibitions. And in Thoothukudi, we have a cooperative milk society that was recently formed because of one of my friends who is a young activist, Grace Banu. It's a very beautiful initiative. And even before that, 25 years ago in Coimbatore, many of the transgender people started getting into catering business, and today they are very, very successful. Every day they make around 20,000 to 30,000 every day. Very famous biryani masters, chefs are all in Coimbatore. The empowerment is there. I mean, we are not lacking success stories. We are just lacking visibility. The community actually lacks confidence. We are actually raising up socially and economically, but our community still has many challenges. The lack of trust and loyalty upon the society is one thing that needs to be addressed. Transgender community does not really trust the world because we have gone through so many struggles in our lives. To break that ice is quite a challenge because there is lack of acceptance at home as well as in the society. And because many trans people are school dropouts, there is a lack of technical knowledge. And if tomorrow Gender Park decides to offer a training institute within the space, it is essential that it has to be technical knowledge as well. There is a very big lack of motivation, and most importantly, there is lack of finance. Many transgender people really wanted to start a business, but what is one of the biggest challenges that we face in our community is the lack of finance, and even if we produce a product, the community does not know how to market it. There are so many transgender people I know, beautiful artists, beautiful craft makers, beautiful people who make food products, supplements. But we do not know how to market the products. Many of them don't even know how to be a digital entrepreneur, how to sell on Amazon, how to sell on Flipkart, how to sell a sari on these platforms. These are little things, but very important things that the community should be learning from our institutes. I think in Gender Park, I think if you're planning to offer entrepreneurship initiatives for transgender people, it's so essential that how do we digitally become empowered, how the transgender community can take advantage of web business, of augmented reality, of artificial intelligence, in a way that is easily learnable, but which can be applicable to our daily lives, which can be applicable to our economic benefit, which can actually uplift our community. How can these new age technologies, which we as teenagers, we never faced, how can these technologies be implemented into an underprivileged community? One of the things that recently we did in Bangalore during our show is we used the augmented reality technology to tell our stories of our community. Each of the artwork that displayed there, when you scan it through an app, it will pop up with the community person who did it, the artist and her story. So even in art, you can actually give an extended experience, interactive experience using technology like augmented reality. So definitely when you talk about entrepreneurship, it's not about only selling in some shops and being a small vendor. I want our transgender community someday definitely to be like Bill Gates, of course, to be super duper entrepreneur, to be some of the most successful digital entrepreneurs in this country, business people in this country. Right now we are struggling with small businesses, but we all learn from our mistakes. So essentially my point here is that the community needs a lot of knowledge, a lot of motivation, especially counseling sessions are so important for our community. Counseling because we have health issues, we have psychological issues, physiological issues. These things have to be taken care of. And we have a lack of motivation, self-acceptance. We have huge self-worthlessness, which needs to be destroyed. These are some of the challenges that definitely need to be addressed. I would also suggest some strategies for entrepreneurship. We must ensure transgender people in active entrepreneurship participation. We should be able to provide the managerial skills, training, technical skills training, better education facilities should be offered. There should be support to improve coordination skills, and there should be we should organize soft skills program including communication skills. Enhancing professional competence is also important. Adequate training and continuous monitoring. The monitoring is a very, very important part. Everybody loves to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to change their life, but over time they get tired of small things. They may not be able to market. There's nobody else to help them market their products. So we need to intervene. The system needs to intervene and assure that they continue to do it. The community continues to actually take effort to produce a product. And as I said, arrange counseling facilities and motivational environment. And occasionally we need to give them, definitely, the entrepreneurs of transgender community needs to be given awards. It's so important. I think there are many entrepreneurs in this state, in Kerala as well, from the transgender community. There should be a gathering, a meeting, a conference of transgender entrepreneurs who are making progress, who are actually changing the world, who are becoming role models and are already our role models. And this would motivate our community to think about changing their lifestyle. Such initiatives would definitely pave the way forward to become the next generation of transgender people, not being chased away from their homes, but living in their homes with their parents, with their siblings, and studying their education, completing their degrees, and becoming business people, entrepreneurs. And I think that day is not so far. Maybe in another 10 years, I want our community people to be more and more and more empowered, to be more business oriented, to be very visible, to be taking positions, to be corporate leaders. Thank you very much.
What a deeply personal and political account of transgender experiences in India. Thank you for being the fire that you are, Kalki. And now, to close this session with her remarks, I'd like to have the chair of the session, Srimati Shailaja teacher, speak to us for a minute. ഇനി സംസാരിക്കണോ ഞാൻ എന്നുള്ള അർത്ഥത്തിൽ ടീച്ചർ എന്നെ ഒന്ന് നോക്കി.
Thank you, dear Padma Shri Renana Jhabvala of SEWA Bharat and Sri Vic Warrior of ILO Geneva and dear Kalki Subramaniam of Sahodari Foundation. All these personalities raise some questions to the society and in front of us, how to deal with the problems of transgenders. And I want to say that transgenders doesn't need only sympathy from the society. Other than sympathy, they should get equal opportunities. According to the Constitution of India, without the discrimination of sex, transgenders also, all the male, female and transgenders, any person without the discrimination of caste, color or religion or sex, they should get equal opportunities. But the question is that whether they are getting it or not. No, they are not getting it. Because if we examine the transgender community, as Kalki explained here, what is the exploitation they are undergoing and what is the fate they are suffering throughout these years in the independent India also. We have to address that problems. Kerala state started some activities on this. This government issued or declared a policy, adopted a policy on transgender and explained all these things in it. And also with the help of that policy, we framed some action plan also. I mentioned earlier, we declared an umbrella project called Rainbow Project. Inside there are so many sub-projects and we are trying to develop so many activities for the transgenders to make them equally sponsor, equal consideration, to give them equal consideration in the society. We had already formed the transgender state board and also district boards are also formed. They are working. I think there are so many eminent personalities among the transgenders, even people's representatives and also technocrats and this media workers and journalists, etc. And Kalki is the very good example on that, highly educated and that they can give some guidelines how to improve the transgender community. We are trying hard. First, one thing Kalki mentioned is most important thing, what is the fate of these transgender students, little ones? Dropping out from the school is the major problem because of the ridicule, because of the society's attitude. Even the school teachers and others, they cannot understand properly what is the transgender, and because of the atmosphere there, the students are not willing to go to school. And we are finding out that thing and we are taking some remedial measures to keep the transgender students in Kerala schools, and I think a far better thing is happening in Kerala than comparing to other states or other parts. And now the transgender students are in the school. I can give assurance that no transgender students will be out of the school because of this reason, these gender things. And also the education, through the continuous education program, we are giving education to the dropout students who are grown up now, and they passed through the parallel education system. They passed 4th standard, 7th standard and also +2. A number of students transgender persons are studying in continued education program. There is a special program for them. And also some skill development program also we started to develop the skills of the transgender from lower level to higher level. Some training on sewing machine, etc. We are supplying machines and giving some job opportunities, and the technology, developed technology, they are also giving technical skills to them. We started Tejomaya scheme, where if they wanted to continue their education, government will pay all the fees and government will remit all the monies for the higher education If any transgender want to complete the higher education, government is behind, the department is behind the transgender, and definitely we will help them to complete that education. I remember one person, Adam Hari, who came to me and he expressed that he want to become the pilot and he want to join in the aviation academy, but he had no money, and he want to get some assistance for that. At once our department took it as a special case, and with the help of the Social Security Mission, we gave admission or seek admission to Adam Hari, and he joined there and he will become a pilot definitely. That is his ambition. And if any transgender person in Kerala have such kind of ambition, and because of lack of money, he or she cannot attain that ambitions, we will definitely help them. We just started, and as I said earlier, miles to go, and we are going. We are starting so many skill development projects and some job opportunities. As Kalki measured, this is the era of market competition, you know. If any transgender group produced anything, we cannot compete in the society. That is why we want to develop the skills, and we should have to brand some items to compete with the society, and government and department will give definitely the assistance for such groups also. Let us start. We had already started, but let us move forward and make sure that transgenders are equal persons in the society, and this stigma, we should have it to destroy the stigma, and to make them dignified, to make their lives in a dignified manner. Government give assurance for that. With these few words, I want to thank you, Kalki, and thank you all others for giving your beloved these important points here. Thank you, everybody.
As the person who's also heading the Social Justice Department, her words hold a lot of promise for us. And this is going to be a really special moment, because the chair of this session is going to present a memento to Kalki. I don't think they know it yet. Teacher, we would like to request you to present a memento to Kalki, please. We'd like to place on record our deep appreciation for all that you've done for the transgender community of the entire country. Thank you for being here, and thank you, teacher, for chairing this session. Yes, time for that announcement that all of you have been waiting for. It's lunch break. That's the good news. The bad news is that we will still commence our post-noon session at 2:30 p.m., although we are running slightly late because it's an online session as well, right? So people from across the world will be joining us. We need to start on time. So please be back here at 2:30 p.m. sharp. So have a quick lunch and come back.
One announcement to make. Sorry, I missed one announcement. We are actually selling our transgender artist painting in stall number 7. There are very minimum artworks, some beautiful, beautiful artworks. If you're interested in art and buying art and supporting us, please visit stall number 7 in the afternoon after lunch. Thank you.
Just a quick reminder that our post-lunch session will be on the role of governments and related institutions and agencies in gender equity at 2:30 p.m. sharp, and the lunch area is right behind the stage. So when you step out from here, just take the right, or if you're stepping out from there, take the left. It's right behind this hall. So please have a quick lunch and come back at 2:30 p.m. sharp. Thank you.